Thank you for tuning in to Androna Talks Radio, gathering as one in our sovereign truth from a galactic perspective, exploring our world with new ideas, knowledge, and a promise of a better future. Galactic discussions for galactic-minded people. Androna Talks.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Androna Talks Radio. We're going to be doing a Yellow Vest edition today, and I have Chris here with me. We're going to be looking at some of the updated news of what's going on in France. And I know a lot of people are fixated on what's happening in the United States, but as I said before, it's parallel. What is happening, what has been happening in France is happening in the United States, and I'm going to show you that today. And we're going to have, it's pretty much the same thing with a different language. So I'm going to start off by introducing Chris, and we're going to get some background information regarding what we're looking at here. And so here we go. So Chris, how are you?
Hi, Jess. I'm good. Just intense times, I would say. But yeah, you're correct when you said that, there is a connection between what's happening in France and in the US. And I guess what is shocking for those in the US is that for all this time, all these 3 years, yes, there were some, political stuff going on, but nothing such as violent protest and this and that for the last 3 years. It just happened after that sad story of George Floyd. In France, they don't have someone like Trump on the power. Remember, the one who was elected with 66.6% in 2017 is Macron. He is working hand in hand with the whole Soros, Rothschild, and their agendas. So they're a little bit in advance when it comes to the social unrest. This is why you had the Yellow Vest for 2 years, and then all the different, in December 2019, around fall of 2019, you had all the different corporations getting worse and worse because of all the different bills and laws they were passing. Macron government was passing literally to impoverish middle class and poorer class, and bring all the money, suck all the money from the country to the top. So when they knew that spring would come and they wouldn't be able to control the whole thing, of course, COVID-19 happened. And that for 3 months, I have to be honest, I didn't pay attention. I couldn't really pay attention to what was going on really in France, because first, all you could hear about was COVID-19, like everywhere in the world, by the way. So a lot of things happened. The government voted a lot of different bills at that time in France that people didn't know about. We discovered that at the end. Now, people are back in the streets. They tried to protest a little bit. They were directly, police cracked down on them violently. But since the George Floyd situation, this is getting to a complete different level. And if you can really, if you know a little bit about, and you guys know, the listeners, pretty much the whole, deep state agenda, or Soros agenda, I would say, which is non-human based, right? It's coming from higher dimensional, of course. You can see it's the same storyline, what's happening, the same blueprint of operations between what's happening in the US and what's happening here. It's just that here in France, they start a little earlier. But it was too early. They couldn't let that civil unrest go to maturation, I would say, so they could use it, because it was too early. They needed first to bring the country down on its knees economically. That is part of the blueprint. This is why they did the COVID-19 in the world. because it's the same thing Hitler did in 1933. They came out of the First World War that literally broke the country to a point where financially they were broke, and the people didn't know what to trust anymore. So when he came in power, the first thing he did was, okay, push that. They pushed for that economical crisis that was worse than ever, and then that was a perfect, how would you say, situation for them to start changing the police, removing the regular police and replacing with the brown vest, which is the actual Antifa here. They're doing the exact same pattern, same blueprint. Nothing has changed.
They're dressed the same. They're doing the same kind of stuff. Look at what they're doing with this vehicle that we have.
The Antifa job is to play the role of the new government police that will police everyone that is not in agreement with the doctrine of that new government in place. So, of course, with Hitler was, of course, the Jews, and their tactic was the same. Break windows in stores, burn the stores, take the books, burn the books, burn history, change history. I mean, they tried to do the same thing here with the pretext of slavery. They tried to change all the histories, even in France. They try that. Break the statues.
This is a bus. But, yeah. I mean, they stand right in front of a bus. It's like, are they giving them some kind of drugs where they just don't really have any sensibility? They don't care. They don't care if they get run over.
No, they don't. And this is what it's very strange for me, Jess. I saw these images where, like 2 years ago, the Antifa were sent in the middle of the Yellow Vest protest to discredit them, right? To discredit the Yellow Vest movement. Now we know clearly, now we have proof of that. But they were not as crazy as they are now. It's like, you're right. It's almost like they receive a crazy pill, and they're afraid of nothing.
Yeah, nothing. It's a programming. What right here, it says ultra-violent militias, Antifa, wrought all the social causes. They infiltrate Yellow Vests, caregivers, and under the carrying eye of power, which lets them do it.
Yep.
This has nothing to do with the noble cause of caregivers in public hospitals or anything that's noble.
Because Antifa is supposedly hand in hand, it's the same level as Black Lives Matter for the French people, European people, and everywhere in the world. I mean, all the
Did you see that?
I would say.
Did you see that it looked like a skateboard or something that he threw? I don't know if you.
Yeah, they use. Yeah.
Yeah, you see that?
Yeah,
they go back here. There it is. What is that? And it blew up.
Turns in. That would be more a Molotov cocktail then. I mean, they come literally prepared. They have, before the protest, they have in bushes, they have Molotov cocktails and things like that are hidden in bushes and everything, so that when the protest happens,
right there,
everything's
right there. It just looks like a piece of wood, but look what it does.
Yeah, but yeah. Right? That doesn't make any sense, right?
No. Try it again. It looks like nothing. It looks like nothing. But it's something. Yeah.
And the police there doesn't move. You see how they don't move when it's Antifa? They do not move. It's only when it's the non-Antifa, and you will see in other videos, that they get crazy, the police. So they have orders.
You've been watching this for a while, and a lot of people that are looking at the United States and what they're doing and the behaviors, and you're observing all of this for a while, and you're starting to see some of these trends.
There is no, and what I was observing, the big change here, Jess, is that Antifa were attacking banks and the black box banks, but that's it, pretty much. They were not attacking businesses or people. They were not. Now, it's like what's happening here in the US. They attack people, they attack businesses. It's like no laws at all. We do what we want, and they feel all powerful. It's like nothing can stop them. Completely different.
This is Marine Le Pen.
Yeah, of course.
What is it saying?
Marine Le Pen sur l'île de Saint. It's an island, and I don't know what she goes on that island. Oh, I think she goes there to support. To support the hero of the France, of the Free France, of the Second World War, the Resistance, right? Why do you think it's connected to what's going on here in France? Because in her mind, she represents the resistance towards the immigration, the African, and all that. So political.
Okay, so we're going to go to this one right here. This was a terrible situation. So it's a French woman, and they're covering the news. The nurse is released
by several riot officers. The police said she had been throwing projectiles at them. Frida says she's been left traumatized by the way she was treated. A rally was swiftly organized in her support. RT Charlotte Dubinsky was there.
50-year-old nurse who was arrested during the health workers' protests that took place in Paris on Tuesday. Now, she's been named as Farida and is said to be from the outskirts of the city. Now, it's said she's a healthcare professional for some 17 years and that she was taking part in those protests that were taking place across France to demand increased salaries, more staff, and more money in general for a service that many have been saying for a long time is on a knife's edge here in France. Now, videos on social media showed that the moment that she was arrested, with officers charging towards her.
It's crazy. And why did they select her? Why did they pick her out?
Well, of course, the excuse is she threw a stone. Is this a joke? They're surrounded by Antifa sending bricks, Molotov cocktails, and all kind of crap. But they don't go after them. They go after her because she threw a stone at 8 of them. Grab her by the hair, put him down. I mean, there's a point you think, okay, something is completely off here. These police obviously have orders to not intervene when it comes to Antifa or Black Lives Matters, because it's the same thing. You touch Antifa, it's like you touch Black Lives Matters. That they're so intertwined right now. But the nurse, oh yeah, the yellow vest, the old people and all that, the T-slits as they call them, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been noticing this is a trend, and I don't know if it's with not just with the police, but with Antifa, and they're going after young girls. It's like, can you be any more cowardice?
They are so coward. They go after innocent, little, vulnerable
people that have
alone.
No weapons, elderly people that are being knocked over.
And they feel powerful because there are 6, 7, 8 of them on sometimes one.
One young girl that's 15 years old. I mean, how does that make you feel strong?
Because all these soy boys, once you remove their mask and their uniform, they're like literally 70 pounds all wet. I mean, they wouldn't stand a chance in front of someone normal. So, I mean, yeah, behind all these black uniforms and all that, and they're, of course, like we say, a mob, right? In English, a mob attacking. And it's funny because it's something very similar also to North Africans in France. They will never attack you alone. There will always be severals on one.
It's a weird gang mentality, but it's so cowardice. I've never seen anything so. It's like the most ridiculous thing possible.
It's always those who had no voice, never had the balls. The courage to speak their truth normally without violence. Those are hiding in the basement of mom and dad most of the time, right? Behind computers and don't dare to talk to girls, but suddenly they have the mass. There are 50, 20, 100 of them. The media are supporting them. Guess what? They feel super powerful now. They have a voice.
Well, in this case, this is the police doing it, and then of course I've seen other groups doing stuff. It's not just the Black Lives Matter going after children, young girls as well. I've seen a couple of that stuff.
It's happening more in the US, that whole going after the white people. They try to push that in France. You can see it. They try to push it in France when they say that French people are all slave owners, same crap. It's going to be a little harder. But in the US, yeah, I mean, it's literally, you see how they, some videos are.
It happened in the US, but majority of the people that are in the US and most of them came over, came over through New York way later, much later than the Civil War. So that, none of this makes any sense. And of course, Soros and all of these elites are supporting it because they want to see a divide and conquer.
Yeah, and right now they chose black against white. You can even talk about the truth, which is that the first slaves were not blacks. That's one. They were not blacks. They were whites. They were Irish. Irish were treated as dogs for a very long time in America.
But there's been all different. Slave trade has been going on for a long time, and it's a horrible sin. It's a crime against humanity. It should have never happened, period, to any group. And I'm 100% agreement. No one should have been enslaved. I don't think anyone deserved that.
Nope.
However, in this current situation, I think that the table is turning to a point where it's it's extremely illogical. And if it was rational, I think 80% of the population would probably be on board with them. But because it's become very irrational and blaming, it's the whole blame game. And then they're not even thinking properly, and their presentation, their argument doesn't feel completely valid to me. And then they want to be worshipped. It's another type of crime. You are imposing your people need to be worshiping you, or a dictatorship, or whatever it is, or that you have carte blanche to go out and steal from people. None of this makes any sense at all. It's either an extreme mind control, or it is a deliberate taking advantage of the system. Getting away with it. I can get away with it now. I can do the things that I always wanted to do. I can just go out and murder people. I can go out, this is the mentality we're talking about. The people that have been harboring these desires to want to hurt others, to want to steal, all of that stuff has been suppressed. And now all of a sudden you're seeing that people are actually indulging in this. I mean, it's like an indulgence. It's like a drug. It's like an alcohol addiction. Yeah. I mean, they're getting a high off of this. It's very, very disturbing.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. I think it's both. It's the program on one hand. You see them, they're activated. And then the others that are taking advantage of it. The looting, the this, the that. I mean, yeah.
There she is right there. And she's yelling out. All right, so we'll go to this part right here.
For some sort of breathing device, saying that she can't breathe.
She has asthma.
Her daughter later took to Twitter in defense of her mother, who said she needed a ventilator because she's asthmatic.
This woman is my mother. She's 50 years old, a nurse. She worked for 3 months between 12 and 14 hours a day. She had COVID-19. She was demonstrating so that her salary would be raised, that her work would be recognized. She's asthmatic. She had her uniform on. She's only 1.55 meters tall.
Supporters for Farida say that this is the latest example of police brutality, and they have had enough.
We find the conditions of Farida's arrest scandalous. There was no reason for her detention. This really was a disproportionate use of force.
Toujours. La police provoque toujours.
The police always provoke protesters. The police crack down every time. And now we have a 50-year-old woman. Even if she threw a stone, this does not deserve being thrown to the ground.
Sadly, what happened was not the first time we see police threatening or stopping people from trying to peacefully leave a demonstration. Under the pretense of wanting to isolate a few individuals, they end up terrorizing everyone there.
Okay, so can you
Okay.
stop just here for a
Yeah.
second?
That's
Okay.
no. We can
People
move
don't
move on,
understand.
right?
No. There's something here very important that just happened.
Okay.
It just hit me now. So they started with the nurse woman, right? Which
Yeah.
is a hero, literally, in France, because nurses have worked their ass off for 3 months with no medication, no nothing, trying to save lives, right? And in the beginning of the protest, everybody was peaceful. Police were applauding the nurses were applauding the police. It was great. Antifa comes in, and the whole thing started. Right now, here, it's all about propaganda showing how police is violent, because they never will say how the police is violent against Antifa. Never. It's how they are violent against, like, supposedly innocent people. They are innocent, right? That woman definitely is not an Antifa. She didn't do anything
Definitely
else other
not.
than
No,
working
and not
around.
only that, but she's a professional, and
Right.
she also had COVID. She recovered from COVID.
Because half of these people got COVID because they were working with no mask, trying to help in hospitals.
Right.
I mean, so it's cleverly done. They started with, oh, you see the protest, yeah, the police is violent. They show that nurse, they show one white guy talking, saying the police is violent. And then they finish with an African woman. And psychologically, it goes back to, see now, it's like, it's psychologically, the whole thing goes from, instead of to just say, hey, it's kind of unfair what's going on for that woman, it brings all the thing back to the racial stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
This
I have
is
a
the
hard time to
media.
speak tonight, but yeah,
This is the media.
and psychologically, it seeds something. Oh yeah, the police is really bad. Yes. Well, the police is not cracking down on the Antifa the same way they're doing on the Yellow Vest or on the Maghrebins or the Arabs of France, because she's Arabic. She's not black. She would be black, believe me, she wouldn't touch her right now. They wouldn't touch her. They have orders for that.
The nurse is
So,
Arabic, you said?
she's Arabic, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, so here's another scene that you said was related to this. Is that her again?
Ah mais... Elle l'empêche de parler. Vous êtes de la police, vous n'êtes pas la milice.
Yeah, so what happened is that they're bringing her to the truck, right? And
Yeah.
I guess those people are recording, and as they're bringing her to the truck, she's talking to the people that are recording here, and as she's talking, you see that woman cop putting her hand on her mouth, and that is something you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to do it as a cop. Point. I mean, this is not Haiti or Libya or Turkey. It's France. And the kid was saying, you're the police. You're not the militia. Meaning, you have rules. You cannot do that. Stop someone from speaking. You cannot do that. We have the First Amendment, right?
Yeah.
So that is to show you how the police have lost complete control right now. On one hand, they cannot do anything against Antifa. They have orders to not move. So their frustration builds up. And where do you think that frustration is released? Well, on those who don't defend themselves, don't have weapons. Nurses, yellow vests. It's very easy. It's all planned in a very specific way so that it creates that sentiment of tension, of fear of the police is dangerous, and it's not. If you remove the police from France, I guarantee you it's going to be a nightmare.
It's already a nightmare, and I'm hoping that the Americans in other parts of the world can learn from this and see what's not working. What is not working? This is not. It's not getting any better.
No, it is not. But what is scaring me here, Jess, is that the yellow vest now, the representative of the yellow vest for the last few years, that were talking about the violence of the police on the yellow vest, which was true, but they always said not all of them, a few bad apples. when the rest is trying to do their job, they have no choice. They have to order, to obey the orders. Now, it's put everything in the same basket. The George Floyd, the this, the black, the everything. Now the whole police is violent. And I'm like, whoa, that is not going in the right direction.
That's not true, because I think the police are just trying to get order on this, trying to keep order, trying to keep people from, really getting out of control. You can't have it so lawless, or it's complete. It's a breakdown of our entire society.
Well, it's almost done on purpose. They make them overwork. They overwork them. They're underpaid. They are asked to do horrible things to their own people for 2 years, and now they are asked to do nothing. And the very one that's their minister that told them, I will give you everything, we love you, crack down on the yellow vest, please save the government, save the republic, now is spitting on his own police. This is why they are lost. Everything is done on purpose.
No one knows who they are. I mean, they're probably people protesting that are from the same family that are police officers. And, you don't really know. And then Antifa, of course, doesn't even belong there.
Antifa is the pest, literally. It's a sickness that, should be eradicated. I'm sorry. And I'm not talking the human beings. I'm talking whatever's controlling them. And of course, this is the thing, Jess, we discussed that many times. Human beings, if they didn't have any of that crap done to them, they wouldn't do half of the horrible things to each other.
Yep.
All right.
No, they would never treat each other this way.
So, now you go into, so that is another one.
Oh, yes. Okay, you want to explain what this is?
Okay, so in the middle of all that thing happening with that guy that died. Okay, because
let's give us the backstory of this guy that died. His name is Adama. Adama, right?
Yeah, Adama is that kid that was from the suburb of Paris, I guess, and those are where all the immigrants have been pretty much groomed to. They have no hope, these kids, for 3, 4, 5 generations there. It's drugs, this, that. Anyway, that kid was a good kid. It was his birthday, and he went on his bicycle to have a little ride. The police is trained themselves, trained new techniques, most of the time very violent, on these suburbs, on these kids of the suburbs. And what they did, they killed him. They killed him, same thing, strangulation, blah, blah, blah. He died. Police never got in trouble, and the news barely talked about it until George Floyd happened. And of course, George Soros knew that they needed to create the same situation in France than in the US. So what did they do? They reactivated that whole story of Adama, asked the family to come forward and fight against the police brutality, blah, 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 blah. Now, in the middle of all that, you have, for the last 3 years, even the last 30 years, never really these kids in the suburb went in the street and start fighting with the police. Most of the time, the police might try to go in their cities and they fight back, but the police kind of doesn't dare to go there because they know these kids have weapons, but they keep it for themselves. Now, what happened is that one of the Chechens, I didn't even know there were Chechens in France, and for those who don't know who are the Chechens was part of the old Russia before, got independent when the wall fell down. And they're very close, I guess, to Afghanistan, right? And those kids, those tribes were in war for hundreds of years. They're warriors, born and groomed warriors. So they are pretty much in a lot of different countries in Europe. But I knew a few of them, and they're always in some weird business. But anyway, one of their kids got beat up by the we call it Maghrebins, the French North African.
This group right here, the Maghrebins.
Yes, and so the Chechens came from everywhere in France and Europe by car into that city here. to create war. They came with weapons. So suddenly, these kids here, for the first time in 40 years, took all the weapons and went straight in the street. And it sounds like it was Libya or whatever. I mean, that is a scene that is insane. So why are those two activated right now? That was my question.
Right. He's saying that there's like no one can believe all the weapons that came out. We'll show you.
Vive Poutine, niquez vos mères, Poutine.
Look at that.
Viens gros, la mafia. C'est nous les Arabes, viens. Vous ne cantonnez pas là, bande de pédés. Hein. Ouais, je sais, niquez vos mères. Niquez vos mères. C'est vous la mafia, bande de pédés. On va vous vacciner. Partout, vous
It's like the Wild West.
Venez maintenant, nous on va venir. Vous avez fait appel à toute l'Europe, vous êtes 150. Tiens, on va voir nous quand on va appeler toute l'Europe.
Okay, so what's going on here?
So it's pretty much they're giving a message to the Chechens, telling them, Putin, motherfuckers, the mafia, da 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 da. We are the French Arabs. You think you are 150? We are 1,000. Just come and try to test us. And of course, they have all the weapons there, which nobody ever seen. I mean, we knew they had some, but
this is the Maghrebans.
Yeah, this is the kids from. It's like you had New York, the project, these big buildings, right? Well, they create cities like that. And the police doesn't even dare to go there. I mean, if you live there, pretty much you don't have jobs. There's not a lot of hope. You're far away from the city. You cannot really have a job. You don't have good schools, a lot of drugs. You know, everything is perfect for that to explode eventually. But never they came out in the street with guns like that. Never. So that is strange.
So you're thinking that someone might have donated it to them because they don't typically have that kind of money?
No. They have them. They have these guns since a long time. They fight between gangs within these suburbs.
Okay.
They kill each other. But to come in the broad daylight in the street like that, in the middle of a little city, that never happened. So my question is, what happened there? Okay, they killed one guy, got beat up by the Maghrebins, by the French, Arab guys, one Chechen guy. It happens every day. Why suddenly it creates literally a war between two Muslim groups in France?
See, this makes me think about some of the stuff that Peter said regarding the AI that was in the COVID-19 or that they've been trying to put this into our system and activating some people, but it seems like some people are more activated than others. But we always had, challenges and stress and violence in the cities to some degree. But this is off the hook. I mean, I have never seen it to this extreme. And it's a complete activation. But, prior to this time, think about it, the past couple of years have been these shooters. And I'm wondering, it's almost like the same kind of mindset, just go out and take out as many as you can type of thing.
And in America, maybe people might see that and be like, yeah, okay, they have guns, no big deal. I mean, a lot of Americans have guns. Yeah, but in France,
it's military-looking guns.
There is no guns. Nobody has guns. Only the police have guns and criminals. Nobody else. It's not allowed. We don't have the Second Amendment. We don't have that. So to see this, for us, the last time we saw so many weapons in the street is in 1945. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the last time I had weapons like that in France and shooting and all that.
During the war. That's right.
Yeah. This is what's shocking. But there's more videos.
Okay.
Vive Poutine, vous allez niquer vos mères, Poutine.
This is the same one, Jess.
Ouais, viens la mafia, les Arabes. Viens gros, la mafia. C'est nous.
Okay.
This is what the first video I saw, and I couldn't believe it.
Tire sur les hnouches. Waouh, c'est une scène de guerre. Oh, ça tire, ça tire. Ah ouais, c'est bizarre.
And these people are shooting at each other.
Yeah, shooting at each other. Even the kids are. What recording says this is a scene of war. What's going on here? It's war. That's what I'm saying. Just last time, I'm pretty much. I think of my grandparents here, because they've seen these things, right? In the Second World War, there were resistance, but this is almost like an alternate reality or a bleed through, or I don't know what is that, post-apocalyptic situation.
Look at this. Chaos. Our country is dark in chaos. What is the Minister of the Interior doing? Strips are engaged in an ethnic war. Automatic weapon by hand in Dijon. Should we call raid to restore order? There's an urgent need to disarm the slums and dramatically review our immigration policy. It's crazy.
Well, there is no immigration policy. The policy is let them all come in, and we need another 350 million coming from Africa within the next 5 years. All right? That's what's going on in France right now. But this is not good news. That's why French government is afraid that they need to calm down these guys very fast, because if those guys goes in the street and start fighting with the police, different story.
I mean, it's like, how in the world? It's crazy. It's like they're in a war, but they don't even know who they're in a war with.
And for what?
Yeah.
For what? That's the thing. Oh, one guy got beat up. Happens every day. I got beat up by these Maghrebin guys in Brussels many times.
So they're all just sitting around waiting. But look how many there are.
The thing is, they were fighting far away from each other. They were not really going at each other. So what happened 4 days later? Oh, media never talked about it. Nowhere. In the national medias. Police never intervened. Never. So what happened is that the imam of one of these Muslim mosques brought the leaders of these two groups together and made peace. Said, guys, you're all Muslims. You're not supposed to fight with each other. And that's how it came down. But that is until when?
Yeah.
This is the thing. These kids know now they can go in the street with weapons and at that, and the police doesn't come. That is the message they have now.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's a license to kill. Look at this. Jeez. I mean, it's just chaos. I mean, this is
hysteria. It's
yeah.
The rule is no rules. It's just go at each other, and yeah, I mean, there is like adrenaline running in their blood right now. There's no more common sense, no more connection to the divine. I mean, yeah.
For people that are just trying to survive. I mean, it's poverty. It's a distraction from poverty. They didn't even do the bread and circus. They just went right into violence.
And what is crazy is that, like you're right, Jess, all these people are victim of a system for a very long time. They're just trying to make it. And they're bringing all these different groups that are victim from the same system to fight each other.
This is what's something about the black blocs.
Yeah, the black blocs that are trying to do the same thing as in the US, breaking windows and this and that, still to steal stuff. And the Committee of
looting.
Adama, the
Yeah.
Committee of Adama, it's like the family member of the family of that kid that died 2 years ago are there saying, what the heck are you doing? This is not the message here.
Which is so weird because Adama is a name that's, you go out to, I mean, it's like one of those like spiritual guys that are out in Mount Shasta. You know what I mean? And so you have that kind of name, and here's this young kid carrying that name over there, and it's around. I mean, I don't know if they're trying to do. To me, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it means anything to them over in France. But if you have
it's from
Adama
Mali.
over here,
it's African from Mali. So I don't know. The language maybe means something.
Yeah. All right, so let's take a look. I mean, the looting in New York City is like horrific, and California. I don't know how bad this is over there.
They try that in France. They've done a little bit, not as much.
At least they're running here. I mean,
yeah, police is coming. But the Adama group is the members of that family. They're like, okay, it's one thing we protest peacefully, but this, what you guys are doing, is going to be connected to the name of a brother, and we don't want that. We want justice. We don't want chaos. We don't want that. We don't want to be connected to that. So this is why they try to stop the Antifa guys. But you have Antifa, you have Black Blocs, you have Black Lives Matters, you have all kind of groups now that come out. You have all the kids from the slums, from the projects.
Yeah. Well, in the U.S., there's also the Boogaloo that just came out.
What is that?
They wear the Hawaiian shirts. Well,
it's a gang?
It's another group that's probably they want to bring in a civil war.
Oh, jeez.
All right, so here is
the day of the protest of the hospitals employees and Yellow Vest and the Adama group. They had a peaceful protest, but the whole thing turned to crap after a few hours because of Antifa.
Okay. Look at all the people there. Look at all these people with the cameras too.
I mean, you can see the cops are not in a position of power right now. They're literally trying to protect themselves. Yeah, they are losing control completely.
Yeah.
The only time that happened with Yellow Vest is on the 3rd of December when they were so close to the presidential palace that Macron was ready to be, escorted out of the country. After that, they cracked down on the Yellow Vest. That is pretty much the same situation here. But the police cannot do anything because of the Black Lives Matter now in the protest.
What is Macron doing now?
Macron is I don't know. We have no idea. He's trying to to be the strong guy. No, the police. We're gonna keep the police. We're not gonna touch the statue. We're not gonna change our history. This guy, I mean, don't trust anything he's saying. He might take that on the news, say that on the news, and at the same time ask his government to change the history and remove some statues. That's him. I mean,
isn't that weird? Look at that. It says Wall Street.
I know, right? Yeah.
That was crazy. We'll bring it back there. Look at that.
And we know there's no mistake. I mean, things, no
coincidence. Did some of the residents just put that up there, or is that actually a sign? That's over.
No, it's Wall Street English. I don't know what it means. Wall Street English. Yeah, that's interesting. I thought it was part of a store, but
Well, I mean, it just keeps.
so half of that in there you have Antifa, you have some kids from the suburbs, you have a mix of everything. All the people that have too much testosterone and just are fully activated right now.
Yeah.
It's impossible. This is the thing. The Yellow Vests were never throwing stones and this and that in the beginning. Never.
No, they didn't have any part of that.
No, every time there was stuff thrown at the police in the Yellow Vest protests, it's because of the Antifa and the Black Blocs. It's again the same troublemakers.
All right, so this is a weird thing. Maybe you can read and tell us what.
Well, they call it an arcus. It's like a phenomenon that happened with the cloud and in the same time the sunset, I guess, give that weird shape of the cloud and the colors. And it's very strange. They said it's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful, but
it's blood red.
Yes, there's something else there that for me is not normal. That's the first thing I thought when I saw it.
Yeah, the colors. It almost looks like yeah.
So
there it doesn't look as bright, but some of it. Exactly. I mean, look at the yellow right here. It's bizarre.
It's right. Strange colors, huh?
Yeah, it's almost like everything got fragmented.
Mm-hmm. And then you have
this happened in June
13th.
That's when this.
Yeah, and what
happened.
I was observing is as we're getting close, and I might be wrong, but as we're getting closer to that Ring of Fire event, 21st, 22nd of June, which is supposedly connected to what the calendar of the Mayan was supposedly the end of 2012, but we know now with 8 years delay, it's happening now. I was wondering, this is very strange, all this phenomenon. A lot of UFOs everywhere. Have you noticed also?
Yeah, there's a lot of activity.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is June 20th, 21st. Eastern Hemisphere will be able to view the eclipse. Total solar eclipse occurs when the moon passes directly between the Earth and the Sun, so it's going to be blocking the Sun. I mean, it's a regular eclipse. This is what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah,
obviously
you know how it looks like?
Directly at it, but
it looks like Lord of the Ring.
Lord of the Rings.
The eye of Mordor or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
That eye on the top of that tower. Yeah. And isn't it also the equinox?
Yeah. Yeah, the summer equinox.
So you have that on the top of the equinox. Nice.
Yeah. So those colors. I mean, like you said,
we are going to begin tonight with to get to tonight, and our team, of course.
So, I mean, it's quite interesting how all of these things are coming together, and that last show that I did that I brought up about the Mayan calendar and how it was actually 2012 now, according to the switchover from the Justinian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. And there was a bunch of years that were not calculated in, so it actually comes up to, at this present time, well, we were expecting something really bad to happen in 2012, and nothing really happened, which wouldn't make sense if it wasn't quite the right date. So
right, and now it makes sense, huh? Because 2012, nothing really happened other than some spiritual groups making a lot of money,
right,
for the World Event Festival.
Well, they didn't do what they needed to do because we're having a lot of problems in all those efforts. And I'm not going to be cynical, but I'm telling you, a lot of this stuff I think is just trying to distract us, get into some really artificial, let's feel good and let's imagine that everything's okay, and if we don't talk about anything negative, nothing negative will ever happen. And it's not realistic. We're supposed to be looking at the skies. We're supposed to be thinking about what's happening in our world, and if we're not doing that, we're not being realistic and we're not directing our energy properly. But imagining that and getting angry at people for talking about disclosure or any type of information regarding what's actually happening in the world, and saying that you're negative for doing that, that's wrong. It's completely wrong. I think people need to be. You can't direct your energy. You can't help the planet unless you're focused, not like consumed by it, but have an awareness of what is actually happening and looking at the signs of the time, not necessarily apocalyptic times, but just a hint of the earth and the skies and everything is going to reveal to us that something is off. So you don't ignore it.
Yeah. Well, I guess with what's going on lately, there's more and more people waking up. I mean, I've never had so many people around me waking up to what's going on and realizing, wait a minute, not just the COVID-19 thing. I mean, way more. They start to wake up slowly and realize something is going on here. I mean, it's not normal. It's not just the United States, it's the whole planet is affected. And we know, yes, there is Soros involved, but why are they all choosing to activate their agenda now? And at the same time, we discover we're at the end of 2012 right now, supposedly, right?
Yeah.
So,
and all these natural occurrences happening.
Yeah, there's an alignment of different phenomena.
Yep. So, and it sort of reminds you of a black sun, too.
A black sun.
Yeah.
Yeah. A black hole. Do we see stars in the middle there?
In this case, yes, but I don't think that we would.
Right. Yeah.
It's probably the way they photoshopped it.
A black sun. So would it be connected to who was worshipping the black sun?
Well, there's the
Nordics.
The Nordics, yeah. I mean, we have. The black sun is something that's been there for a long time. It actually goes back to the Hindu teaching, and that's related to Shani, who was the son of the sun, I guess. And he, wanted to be in another contrast of existence, something to that effect. And it's a day that's worshipped and respected on Saturdays. And they also say that Shani doesn't like when people are eating meat or committing any type of spiritual violations on a Saturday, because then you have bad luck or your life becomes difficult and you go into the contrast or the darkness. So I had a whole show on this early on when I was doing the Andronicus transmissions, and I had a guest on from India who explained the whole experience, because these things, some of the ancient texts, Sanskrit and some ancient, whether it's early Sumerian writing or some of the earliest writing is in Sanskrit. And so you have these different cultures like the ancient Sumerians, the Anunnaki, and then you have the Egyptians, and then you have this group from the ancient Hindus. And these beings exist. These relationships to the cosmos and what kind of experience that when you see something like this, what is it actually saying? And you have to go back to the original, the earlier text will reveal more in many cases than what people know now and understand, because we've learned to ignore it. We call everything pagan. And it's not just about worship, but understanding what the communication was. It's like a warning sign, when you're driving down the street, the red light is telling you something, and the green light tells you something else. And so likewise, the things that happen in the constellations, they're telling us something. And so we're seeing when people are reacting in a certain way, it's almost like the moon affects people in such a way that, creates what they call the lunacy effect. And, making people act in a way that they would not, and it's exaggerated, it's over the top. And so we're just looking at all of these different things that can happen, and they're happening. The signs are there. If we were looking deep enough for the signs, we'd see them. I mean, you don't have to look that hard. It's just that we've learned and trained ourselves to ignore those signs until it manifests. So we're not giving ourselves enough time to manifest, a more gentle transport through these transitions in our constellations. We're actually like slamming up against them, like a wall. And then we're wondering, we're surprised. Why, how did this happen? Well, it didn't just happen overnight. So I thought that was quite interesting because that, when you see something like that over France, even though it's breathtaking, but it's abnormal. And so you have to dig a little deeper to look at it. And it's interesting, that was the first thing you said, is what it reminded you of the Ring of Fire.
Yeah, and that and a few other events that we have seen these last few days in the world. There was other few events with weird clouds and colors, but that one directly, connected me to the event connected to the Ring of Fire. It's almost like I can feel there's an alignment, something happening with it's all connected in some way with what's going on here that we, experience these last few months. And it's almost reaching a momentum. And I was wondering to what point the Ring of Fire is an activation of something, an alignment. I don't know what it is, but definitely there is something there. It's like my soul knows, but I cannot figure out what it is.
Right. It's letting you, it's a warning sign.
Yeah.
It's a warning sign. And so this is where we have to set our intention. I mean, some people think they see something like this and they're like, oh yeah, let's go sit around and we'll go to the beach and let's look at it and, let's celebrate and have a drink or whatever, do a ceremony or whatever. I think we need to be more attuned to it and have a respect for our world. We're much more fragile. The nature, the constellations, the planets are all communicating with us and letting us know where we should be and what we should be doing right now. And being at a point where we're completely ignoring it and being contrary and harming other people and supporting these violent attacks, stealing, doing all these different things, probably not really a good idea on any occasion. But specifically now, when you see these natural events in the sky, yeah, very bad.
So you would say that a day like for those 3 days, they talk about 2 days here, but we saw an article on Facebook that you shared. There was someone that was talking about 3 days, right? 2021, 22nd. And that would be supposedly a battle between the darkness and the light, Anyway, I thought it's interesting. You said it would be a time to warning. So it would be a time to, stay tuned, connect, have the right intentions, connect to the divine, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
While in the meantime, the whole world is focusing on the protest, the hate, the whole, crap going on right now. And that's magnified through the media 24/7. I was wondering, would definitely would be important to sit down and as many of us possible and focus on the divine, connection to source and the highest potential for humanity, for sure.
This was sort of, it's kind of like the police saying, we're trying to uphold justice. We're trying to, keep things so that it's civilized in our cities. They don't know what to do. I mean,
they try to do their job with the rules that have been created by those governments and those politicians of how they need to do their job. And as they do their job following the rules, now they are pretty much thrown to the lions because there are some bad apples. But look, they throw their handcuffs and the band that says police that normally they put on their arm. It's symbolic, but it's a message to the Minister of Interior.
C'est simple, hein, c'est tout simplement des policiers qui ont voulu exprimer leur colère. Nous, on ne fait que
So what is he
organiser
saying here?
l'endroit et réunir
So there are policemen that just want to express their anger.
suite aux récentes déclarations de Christophe Castaner, le ministre de l'Intérieur, notamment sur l'interdiction de ce qu'on appelait la clé d'étranglement.
Following the declaration of the Prime Minister, the Minister of Interior, that says that they cannot do the chokehold anymore, like in the US, same thing.
Des policiers sur une suspicion avérée de propos racistes. Je ne sais pas ce que ça veut dire, mais je vous rassure, les policiers non plus ne l'ont pas forcément compris.
So if there is any chance that there is a suspicion that the police officer had any racist
depuis de nombreux mois
attitude, automatically they lose their job. It says, yeah, but that means nothing. I mean, what does it mean?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, what it means here, it's simply, what I've noticed is that in the US, are they changing the law on one thing, the chokehold, right? I don't say it's right, because it's kind of violent for sure. But in France, they're doing the same thing, and you can see the same blueprint on the protest, on the looting, on
like it's
everything.
Orchestrated. See, this is the part that I'm not sure people were aware of this.
Yes, and that is why I'm the most intrigued, is that even the law against freedom of speech on internet in France, they're doing the same here. It's the same blueprint. There's such a parallel, and it's you only see it if you can see both news and keep an eye, like you watch it with a distant eye. You don't pay attention to the detail, but you see it from a little bit further and suddenly realize, oh my God, the same laws, the same scenarios, the same false flag, it's the same thing. It's literally a mirror of each other. And that's how you know that it's orchestrated. And we know that Soros, of course, is behind it.
So I don't know if there's...
I mean, the one that you see in jeans, most of the time are not the best ones. But anyway, they just don't have their uniforms here. But you see that? Yeah, some of these guys are the ones that, by the way, beat up the yellow vest like crazy. They are called the BAC, Brigade Anti-Criminality. Those are the worst.
So is this a positive thing, or is this a display?
Well, the thing
what is this?
The thing is, it's part of the agenda, pretty much. These guys are played, they don't even know. So on one hand, they throw the handcuffs saying our the Minister of Interior suddenly is not supporting us anymore. And as much as 3 months ago, he was telling us to do things violently and that we will never we will never have to deal with justice if you literally hit someone with a rubber bullet in the eye and you lose an eye, no big deal. You will never have to deal with justice. You're pretty much super protected, and now it's a complete 180 degrees opposite. So they're lost. They don't know what to do. They feel unprotected completely. Well, they were too protected, but there is a balance.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same one.
I mean, they all did the same, which was a message. Now, most of the time, what the minister is doing is give them some money through the unions, and the unions have more power, and then they calm down the whole thing. I mean, guys have no power. This is the sad story. Until they say, you know what, we don't fight for you, government, anymore. We will not obey orders, and we will go with the people. But, peacefully. But that's it. We don't follow your orders. Then eventually things might change. But they're family people, They have a small salary. If they lose their job, I mean, times are hard right now. There is no economy in France. I mean, the economy is destroyed. We're going to see the aftermath in the next few months. It's bad. It's really bad. So these guys try to keep their job, you know. But it's all part of a bigger plan to create a very a feeling of insecurity for the population towards the police, for the police to feel insecure to work as a police officer, because now you cannot do anything, otherwise you go to jail. So the idea is pretty much in the same time to defund the police. So pretty much it's a way to push the police at the door, you know?
Yeah, I surrender and just let it go lawless.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. I know the American public does not want to see that. People have worked very hard. They're telling people that they're supposed to give over their homes, which is, I mean, it's like, am I in some kind of surreal world? I mean, why would people even think that? I would never tell someone, you need to give me your house. What kind of mindset would even say that?
It's an upside down world that we're living here. It's like everything is upside
There's
down.
no shame. There's no embarrassment.
Nope.
Do you have even a soul? It's soulless to
if
even
someone
suggest something like that.
If someone breaks in your house, you cannot even call the police because you're privileged. You should let these people take what you took, what you have, because you're white, and therefore if you have it, it's because it's something wrong. I mean,
but it's outright thievery. Because think about it. What if it's a stranger? I've never done anything to you. You've never done anything to me.
Nope.
Why would anyone suggest that someone has a right to take something? It doesn't even makes zero sense.
Because they consider, since they don't know history, that everything that we have in America was built on slavery.
Somebody has been teaching some very strange things. What's really weird is that people are accepting it. And I'm talking about educated people. They're
universities, just colleges, is where those teachings are literally pushed. I mean, for 4 or 5 years when they go over there, it's really universities.
I don't think I've heard anything so just ridiculous in my life.
Yes. Oh yeah, there are courses in university about.
I know. I took them. I went back to school. I went back to school, and my son was born after he was born. So I know what I had, the class that I took, and I remember trying to communicate in that class, and it was bizarre. It was very weird.
And how many years was that? How many years ago?
Well, we're looking at maybe 20 years ago.
Okay, so imagine the last 10 years and then the last 5 years. Now they have course, they call it woman science, and it's all about feminism and how males are terrible, and I mean it's same for races. It's incredible. So why do you think you have all these white kids and white girls in the street doing the Black Lives Matters, and we white people, we're privileged, we're sorry, we have to be on our knees? They were taught to think that way. The universities are not teaching kids to be smart anymore. It's re-education camps. I mean, it's literally paid by the Chinese. I'm not joking. Chinese are paying so much money to these universities. Why, you think? The best way to destroy a country is to infiltrate his youth, educate the youth in a certain way. That's going to be the new generation. Spineless and with no knowledge of history and no common sense.
Submissive, well, it's the precursor.
Yeah.
To the slave system.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's, and when you see how they're so stupid. I mean, these kids, I'm sorry, but it's the case. When you see what they do in Seattle, oh yeah, they took a portion of the city. Great. Now they realize, oh, wait a minute, we don't have food. Oh gosh, we need water.
And they're being taught to block the vehicles, the trucks that have supplies and food.
I know.
And other necessities for people. That's evil. You know what? That is straight out evil. All of this is evil. It really is. It's dark. It's corrupt, and you have an agenda. you don't like the way the world is, then do something positive and help it. This is not doing anything. This is selfish. This is taking what doesn't belong to anyone else. You want something, you work for it. I mean, what the hell is wrong with people?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's so destructive in every way possible.
There's
I mean, I've
absolutely
seen.
nothing. How was that gonna? It's almost like, hey, yeah, I'm really smart. I'm gonna make sure that all the supplies don't come in, and then I'm gonna wonder where the food is. I mean,
And I
what's
know.
wrong?
It's like we say in French, you sit on the branch, but you saw the branch, but on the wrong side. So when the branch is completely cut, you fall with it. That's pretty much what they're doing. You know, I've seen guerrillas of groups fighting against the government, but they make sure to give to the people, and, you know, because they fight for the people against the
Right.
government.
They're not
Here,
fighting for the people at all. They're not even
no,
fighting for themselves. It doesn't even make any sense what they're doing.
right now they fight between each other because the homeless. Have you heard that? The homeless people of that Chaz sector are beating the crap of these soy boys and soy girls, and they're pretty much in charge in some of these
I heard that
areas.
they were eating their food or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there is no structure. It's like
Yeah.
everybody's free, everybody's individual. You do what you want. Well, guess what? That doesn't last long.
I know what the problem is that
People living there.
not enough people are thinking that this is strange. That's the part that I'm trying to understand. Please, someone help me with this. It's not making any sense.
Because the media are doing a technique, a CIA technique, that is that every single minute they show a peaceful protester, peaceful this, peaceful that. Even if they show like scenes of people that have guns and this and that, peaceful, peaceful, peaceful. There's a point your brain, it's like subliminal, pretty much. You're like, yeah, no, you're right. Those guys are peaceful. I mean, I don't see the problem. I
Leave
know
it alone.
people that,
Let them do whatever they're doing.
yeah, I mean, they're right. I mean, the police is violent, and yeah, it's about time. And by the way, if that can get rid of Trump, that's what they think at the end. You know what? Maybe not a bad thing.
If the government doesn't do anything with all of these people committing crimes against each other, I mean, on a human level, every single one of us is responsible. And just because you think you're in a movement doesn't mean that the universe doesn't see what's happening. They see everything.
Absolutely.
And if you think that, just because the government isn't doing anything about stealing from others or from killing people, harming people that are helpless, blocking people from getting food, all of these things are a violation against humanity, and it won't be ignored. That's why I bring it up. I bet people think that I'm like, oh, she's hateful, she's this, she's racist, she's this and that. No, I just want everyone to take a look at this. You need to wake up and look at what's going on. And yeah, there's some probably good things, but there's 10 times, 100 times more bad things that are happening. And these things we will all be held accountable for, not just for those that are participating, but those that are consenting. We're not supposed to consent to any of these activities, even if we think that, I mean, I don't know, maybe some people are frightened, but these are soul contracts. You're getting on your knees, you're worshiping others. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to, be in a situation where you're supporting bad behavior towards the innocent. I mean, and none of this stuff should be going on. And I don't care what color a person is. That's you're telling people to commit a violation against their own soul. You're telling people to commit all sorts of crimes under some guise of freedom. You're going to be responsible for it. And that's
justified by the fact that you were oppressed for any reason, ABC. I mean, what oppressed means, you don't even know anymore. You're emotionally offended. I mean, washing the feet of the people. I mean, I'm like, okay.
So they're Jesus or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand what it is. But where they getting for that? This is what entities do. This is
Yeah.
what the false gods did. They wanted humans to get down on their knees. It's telling me is there's an entity inside of these bodies, and they're demanding worship because they're taking over. This is the hidden truth. The invasion is here. Everyone's saying, well, we're waiting. They're laughing about the alien invasion, and little do they know that this is
right
part
there.
of it. It's already here, and what's going on.
But if you think, I'm sorry, Jess, go ahead.
Yeah, in the manipulation and how that they're able to make what's bad look good and what's good look bad, and the switching around. Remember the body is just it's just the exterior. The soul, all souls have value, and anyone that mistreats the other under a guise of what the skin tone is completely wrong. None of it's right.
No, and I mean, and something else I saw, which was crazy, and it makes sense. I think I sent it on Facebook. Is that picture of the slaves had a mask put on them, so they couldn't talk. They couldn't talk back. They had no voice. They didn't have a, and that the master were doing that, and it's the same shape of the mask that we're wearing now, that they ask us to wear. That has nothing to do with COVID-19. It's symbolic. They give that to the slaves. And in the same time, what they were doing at the time, the slave owners, they were dividing the slaves. Oh, this one is better. The one from the field is better than the one from the house. You know what I mean? And so they were never united. So they could never fight against the slave owner. So he was dividing them against each other and making them fight with each other. That was the best way to control them. What do you think they're doing here?
But that's the elite. It's the same. It's the same elite groups. Those are the same, families. My family wasn't even here.
No, me neither.
A majority of the people could say that is because we've had a huge immigration since the turn of the century in 1900s, which was after the Civil War.
Yeah, but
so that also doesn't make it. It doesn't make any sense.
You're Italian, they can go as far as they want. For me, they would say, "Oh, you're French, you're Belgian French." Well, the French were definitely Belgian. Oh, they have the colonies in Congo. They were horrible with black people.
Colonists,
Yeah. Well, I didn't do any of that.
Of course, the Italians have done plenty of stuff. But believe me, we could probably have about 5 shows on that. But I think what I'm saying is a direct effect on the United States, because these are people that are from the United States, and so directly, definitely not. I think, and I know that this is, people would love to just twist this around. I'm just going to say, we are all a soul. Every single one of us are souls.
Yeah.
Those people that are, were slaves could have been the slave owners in another life. So all of this stuff, this karmic stuff, just keeps playing out. And the bigger issue is here, and we could talk about this, and there are ways to remediate any type of loss or struggle. When people speak out and they go through the right channels and they go about it, and they don't just try to kill like innocent people walking down the street, that they actually go and they fight for a cause, or speak out for a cause, and then they go through the proper channels, and they'll get the money and all the stuff that they usually ask for and usually get. So there's been a lot of opportunities, and there's been a lot of I don't know however you want to look at it, but it's been a struggle for a lot of other people because of things that have shifted, and there's other groups in the United States in particular, that like the Native people, who are very silent and quiet, haven't said a whole lot, but they never get a turn because others are always saying that their group hasn't been treated right. But silently, the Native people haven't had an opportunity, and there's a lot of a lot of groups. The United States is a melting pot. It's not just about one or two groups. It's a melting pot. And you can't validate everyone and say this, you're one color and I'm another color. It's culturally, it could be a mix, and we are already a melting pot at this point. So people that you think are white could be African in part. People that you think are African could be white. I mean, it's we don't really know at this point. So this whole argument, this whole aggression is contrived. And if only people would just step back for a moment and you could resolve any of these issues and have a communication regarding it like civilized human beings should. And step back and take a look and say, hey, wait a minute. Who is playing this card on us? Who is manipulating this agenda? Why are they doing this? And none of them are willing to do that. They just, keep bantering about what's going on. It's almost like they're out of control, like something else is puppeting them. And they're not willing to be sensible. And they're going headlong into destroying everything. France is an absolutely beautiful nation. It's beautiful. They're destroying it. They're destroying it because why? Macron is unhappy because he's not worshipped. They don't go down on a knee for him, or what? I mean, it's the same energy. It's the exact same energy. They want to be worshipped.
Yeah, and right now, since they're not worshipped, since Macron hates, or the entity Macron hates that we question his authority. And so now, that whole thing, it seems for him that supposedly people think he doesn't like it. He kind of agree with it, what's going on here, because at least he doesn't have to deal with the social unrest and people that are ready to go and grab him where he is right now.
But he doesn't seem upset that his nation's falling apart, because he doesn't love his nation. There's a lot of these people or I don't know, maybe he doesn't know what else to do. He has to obey the elite and what's going on, and that's the problem. I think at the same time, we as citizens should be considering, why would we want everything destroyed? And why would we allow others to just go ahead and destroy it? It shouldn't be allowed.
No.
It's not fair. It doesn't belong to any one person.
Well, remember, Macron was not elected to make France a better place. His job was to destroy the economy of France on every level, to prepare France, to bring it to its knees for the next president that would come, that would push for the next part of the agenda, which is complete control.
Yeah, the New World Order.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
I mean they had that posted up in Eastern Europe. They had the government put it out on a large wall.
Yeah, I mean they don't hide it anymore. It's reached a point they don't have to hide it. It's almost like they went so fast they've pushed their agenda, and so you can see. I mean, just look at the news. What's going on lately? It's pretty dark, and they don't hide anything anymore. So is Macron is playing oh my God, it's terrible, what's happening? He's happy. His master, the Rothschilds, are so happy with him. He did a good job. Well, guess what? Like you said, the universe record everything, and that doesn't mean we said our last word yet. There's still a lot of things we can do. And
that's right. Everything's recorded. Everything's
recorded.
And when I say not recorded, like, the universe just they know everything, they know our souls, they know our intentions. And it's not, it's fair, they know if you did something, you committed a crime, but it was more like you were nervous or like you reacted or so. I mean, the intention is what is understood.
Exactly.
And we're all supposed to be in this place of learning. We are learning. However, there's, what's going on here. Oh my goodness. I mean, it's going to be a lot of a lot of repercussions. What we're
I don't know if you agree with me, just but I had a feeling that these times when it's kind of like chaotic, whatever, it's also a time where the universe sees where you stand. Because everyone seems to be going one direction or another. It's a test. And then those who think they don't make any decision, they stay neutral and just stay silent and just, let things happen. That is also a very interesting position. That doesn't mean they're safer.
Well, the people that I can pick up their vibe that get really angry when you're trying to share the truth of what's going on. And it's that anger is incredible. It's very, very strong. And it doesn't matter like who dies, what happens. It's almost like they're going to hold on to that belief. We're in a really weird time. The consciousness of people or a lack of consciousness in some areas is just, really shocking even to me. I mean, I had an idea, but it's starting to become more obvious. Others, I'm noticing that they're starting to look at things that they'd never looked at before. They never believed anything like this would ever happen. And even all of us, even though we were told about it, it was hard to believe it. So we disregarded it. So, you could see the writing was on the wall, but, sometimes you just want to think that you can move away from this. And I still think at any moment, if we continue to shift, we can pull ourselves from some of this. But, if people are still too complacent or they're not really sure what to do, it keeps us in a holding pattern and we continue on in this timeline. So, just to be on, to remind everyone that we're always holding on to the highest intention for humanity. And I don't, like to just bring out all of this, violence information that's regarding, kind of unrest. I know there's positive things in the world, but someone has to do it. Someone has to, I feel like this is something that I feel I'm supposed to do. And I think that today is a perfect example of a contrast of what's happening in the United States, what's happening around the world, and showing the nation that it kind of exploded and that everyone else pretty much ignored. And so now, here we are, taking another look. We've had many of these conversations, Chris. I hope one day we don't have to have this conversation anymore. Not that I don't want to talk to you anymore.
No,
but you know what I'm saying. I'm hoping one day we won't have to discuss the yellow vests.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know it might take a little time, but I mean, as much as sometimes I see these images and I feel my heart is broken because of the beautiful country and the beautiful people and what's turning into, and not just France, I mean, the United States too, every country is in the world, right? It's a war against humanity. I mean, I will never stop saying it. It's a war against humanity, and it's important that we wake up to that, and more and more people wake up to this. And if one day, yes, one day we're going to explain how beautiful things are, the shift, how we have been able to shift and finally regain our freedom and manifest our highest potential as humans. That would be a great show to have.
Yeah, we will have that one day.
Oh, yeah.
So until then, I think we're going to close. We'll let people think about everything that we've shown them. And it's given me a lot to think about. So thank you for sharing tonight, Chris.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jess. See you soon.
Okay, and thank you everyone for listening. We will be back sharing updates and other news with you. Thanks for your support and your help. And stay safe and be well, stay grounded. No fear. Let's continue on and let's ask for the highest intention for humanity. Have a good night, everyone.
You have been listening to Androna Talks Radio. Join us on YouTube channel Jessica Ariel Morocco and visit her website at www.readingsbyariel.com.